test my mic out before the horde of raiders arrive. Oh no, they're here! Hello everyone! Welcome to Destroyer with Science attempts to explain this entire monstrosity in 30 minutes. And if you hadn't gathered, I'm from New Zealand, so I have a funny accent, and that's the last we'll be talking about that. I don't want to see any comments in chat about fish and chips, or, I don't know, that's it, all I've got. So yeah, welcome in. I'm going to make the overlay go away. 1 second. So this is the first time I've actually talked on a microphone on a stream before. So now I'm a real Twitch streamer. And I can hear myself feeding back through the laptop. Yay. That's the fun thing about having microphones. And at some point, I'm pretty sure a cat's gonna come in and meow, and my girlfriend's gonna get back home, make a big noise. I'm not used to this kind of thing. It's very, very exciting. Okay. So let me get into it. So, this is my rig, my music rig. And if you've ever seen me play before, you might have been quite confused as to how everything's working and why it's so small. But for me, that's a very important feature of the music setup, to be something that I can actually take with me places. And so I've been very, very strict about making sure that it stays as small as possible, and in order to achieve that, I've had to try and get as much out of each individual piece as possible. And I also very much of the school of not really having a lot of prepared loops or anything, so when I play, I kind of want to be able to dive straight into anything that I can think of at the time and not feel kind of limited by what I've prepared earlier. The one exception to that is I do use like samples when I do remix things, or like generally before I do a session, I'll get some new samples just off YouTube or whatever. But that's that's basically it. So I think there's like a lot here, and rather than trying to explain all the complexities of how the MIDI mapping works and everything, I'll just talk about essentially the language that I speak to the machine. So first of all, I thought I'll just introduce the instruments that I play with. So this is a Eurorack, but I'm not really using it like a typical Eurorack. Each module is basically its own voice. It's like a complete unit. So in the top corner here, we have the Western B2, which is a bass synthesizer and a kick synthesizer. I use it as a bass. It's very capable of making big sine wavy things. Let me try and bring it up. So it's got a bit of oomph, with the 808s thing. So that's my bass synth, and then I have the Plats as kind of just an all-rounder, do anything voice, which I use a lot. Currently we've got some weird FM thing going on here. It's one of those things that I've had in and out of the rig many times over the last however long this has existed. I think I got into modular in October 2021. So I've had that in there pretty much the whole time, but I've taken it out and tried something else, and then it keeps coming back. I love the Plats. It's not the most hi-fi thing in the world, but when you put it through a few effects, it can sound really, really good. And it's just so easy to control and so versatile. You can just kind of jump to any sound that you want at a given moment. Where should we go next? Okay, down here I have a SP404 Mark II. That's my sampler. That's where all of the weird voice vocal samples and my remix things come from. What have we got in here today? Some weird atmosphere-y things. And that's where my microphone's running through today, so I can put effects on my voice, which I won't be doing any more of. I haven't. I've been keen to try the vocal processing capabilities of this thing, so maybe I'll get more into that now that I've got my voice out on cam. Um, okay, so that's the SP404. So yeah, so it's actually a very capable machine. You could probably play an entire set with just that, but I don't use any of its pattern sequencing things. I just use it for plain old sampling, and it's just so ridiculously hands-on. It has a really nice feature, which is if you plug any USB device into it, like a phone or a laptop, it becomes an audio output, and then you can record directly from USB into the sample bank. So I use that all the time when I'm trying to come up with some fun samples last minute, 10 minutes before I start. Just generally my kind of vibe. Okay, next, the Roland TR6S. It is a drum machine. It is a very compact little device, but very powerful. It's got all of the classic Roland drum machines as like kind of digital recreations. They're not just samples, they're actually emulations of the original hardware, which I think it sounds cooler than it actually is. It basically is just like having samples, really. But I really like it, and it's not. Again, it's one of those things that I've taken in and out of the setup over the years. But it's kind of. I think it's actually no. It's not the oldest piece in my setup. The oldest piece is actually the DFAM, which I had long before I went modular. It was kind of my little my gateway into this world, and it wasn't actually in my original modular setup. For a long time, I was trying to do other things. I had more kind of bleepy bloopy stuff like the BIA and the Bacillus and some other noise engineering stuff in there, but I just really missed the analog warmth of the DFAM. So let's talk about the DFAM. I love the DFAM. It is very kind of basically what I sound. It's my sound at this point. It's just without the DFAM, I wouldn't sound like what I sound like. And if you haven't used one before, it's not a drum machine. Definitely is not a drum machine, no matter what people try and pretend it is. What it is it's kind of like a step sequencer attached directly to a couple of oscillators that can be modulated in really interesting ways. That's basically all it is. But it's kind of set up in a way that just makes it so satisfying to discover new sounds. Let's see what we got here. So I'm using it a lot in my music for just making kind of chaotic but somewhat melodic sounds, because it still has tuned oscillators, and I have control over the pitch they play. So on like a stock DFAM, you just kind of push play and it just goes for it and just does its own thing. But I've got it patched into all my stuff, so I can send it triggers when I want it to trigger rather than it just kind of going crazy. But I'll talk about that a little later on. So lastly is the Lemon Drop, the very last instrument. And the Lemon Drop was kind of a bit of a late addition. It's the most recent piece to join this setup. For quite a while, I was using a Dreadbox Nymphes. So there's nothing else in the setup so far that is polyphonic. So I don't have none of these synth voices are polyphonic. I guess the SP404 can be, but I don't use it like that. So yeah, the Nanobox Lemon Drop is basically my only poly synthesizer in this entire setup, and I kind of love it. It's surprisingly versatile. The user interface is a bit of a nightmare, but I I've just found that having only one single polysynth just makes it way easier for me to set up and take down my rig, and I don't have to plug in extra things. And maybe the Dreadbox will be back, we'll see. But for now, I think what I want to do is I want to load more kind of analog-y sounds onto it as samples, and then because let's talk about what the Lemon Drop does. It's got 2 granular channels and 1 just ordinary like virtual analog channel. So it can just kind of sound like an ordinary virtual analog synth, but you can load any sound onto it, and it will chop that sound up into tiny little pieces and reassemble it however you want it to be. And yeah, so it's one of those things that really benefits from spending a lot of time setting up patches on it, which I don't do a lot of, and I just kind of push at it and hope that it makes something sound, mostly. But I think it's something I want to dig deeper into. So yeah, that's all of the instruments in my setup. So next, I thought maybe you might want to hear about how I make the instruments play things. So a few of these things do have built-in sequences, like the SP404 and the Roland, but everything else doesn't have built-in sequences. Oh, I guess the DFAM. But I don't use any of the built-in sequences in anything. I control everything from this one central location on the launch pad. And how it's all mapped is, you can see the color coding here. The white. Why are the drums not working? Oh, I can turn them down. So we've got the TR6S along the top here. We've got the DFAM. And I've got 2 different triggers for the DFAM. I've got sort of the standard trigger, and then I have one with noise. So I can kind of use this as a little bit of a drum machine when I sequence it, and I don't have to rely on things getting out of sync on the sequencer, which is actually, it's really fun to have that getting out of sync when you've got control over the noise and the not noise from the sequence. Next thing I have is the sampler, which I don't actually have loaded in right now, but let me load something in. There's the sampler, and we've got bass, the B2, and then the pink is the plats, and then on page 2 I have the Lemon Drop. And then the rest is some control things, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So yeah, that's great, and it's really nice to have all the instruments laid out in one place where I can just kind of grab at them and play them. But obviously I don't have enough fingers to play all those instruments all at the same time, so I have all of that running through a MIDI looper, which is underneath the cat is a little Raspberry Pi, which all of my USB stuff connects to, and also my polyend CV, MIDI to CV converter. So everything's running through that Raspberry Pi as a MIDI router and a MIDI looper. So it's constantly recording all the time when I'm playing. It's recording MIDI data, and when I play something that sounds kind of cool, I can push this button in the top corner, and it will go back in time and capture that, and now it's looping. But as you can hear, just doing that, it's quite hard to play in time. So I've also got a quantizer running in front of everything, which I can turn on and off. So if I turn the quantizer on, now when I play, it's playing on the clock. The clock comes from the Roland. That's the one thing that it does do. Surprisingly fun to play with a quantizer. Like, you can just drum out drums and you know that they're going to be in time with the main clock. It's easier than tapping tempo or something. Sometimes I'll like lay down a hi-hat or something so I can play along with it. Oops, not long enough. So change the loop length down here. And then I can loop on loop and all that. And I've got an undo and redo, some kind of beat repeat type effects. But yeah, nothing generative. It's all just stuff I input in. That's how I do all of the, like, everything you hear in a stream that I do, it just comes from that process of me entering in loops. I have an arpeggiator as well. But that's basically the entire thing. On top of that, though, I do have some more kind of music theory stuff. So as you can see, this is not chromatic. This is in a scale, a musical scale. So we've got currently sounds a bit like not a minor scale. Whoa, what do we got going on here? There we go. So these buttons down the bottom here, they let me choose what are the minor and major intervals. So rather than having modes, I can choose whether or not I want my 2 to be a major second or a minor second. And I can loop that process as well. So if I want to get into some weird, like, swapping stuff around, let's play a chord. That kind of stuff. And on the second page, I have the ability to sort of transpose up and down. So if I have something playing like a chord, and that can be really good when you've got a kind of a droning sequence going on, then you want to start getting things going. That. Okay, and the last little green segment here is just my root note. So that just is whatever, this, if you're playing in C or F or whatever, and it's, see, I don't really know what scale or what root note I'm playing. I just kind of choose something and then I go with it. So if I ever oh yeah, the side chaining, we'll talk about the side chaining later. Yeah, so that's how the sequencer works, and that's what I'm doing when I play, is I'm interfacing with this very complex but hands-on master control of the entire rig, which is something that I've built up over years and years. Like, this is now, I think, a control scheme that I started working on about 10 years ago, so that's actually sort of insane when I think about it. Very obsessed person, apparently, but I've only been using this setup for about 2 years, and I've only been streaming for 8 months. So that's my full story. Now we've got 10 more minutes to talk about the signal path and the effects. So I've got like I was saying, this setup here is all very much kind of single individual things that do one thing, and they're not really being signal pathed into other things like a typical Euro rack. So I have these 3 effects units here, which are essentially like an effects pedal or like a plugin in Ableton. That's how I think about them. We've got the Ruiner Versio, which is noise engineering's destruction machine. It takes signals that are kind of nice and harmonic and turns them into beautiful harmonic sounds, like there's varying degrees of beauty hidden in that, I'm sure. Then I have the Electus Versio kind of doing delay duties. Yeah, go away. But it kind of rides the line between a reverb and a delay. So depending on how you've got it configured, and that's what I really like about it, is it's not like a multi-effects where you've got to flick through a bunch of different effects until you find the one you want. You can kind of just move organically to the effect you want with all the noise engineering Versio modules. And then finally, I do actually have a proper reverb, but it's also kind of a weird reverb, which is the Versio. I have that on the final end of my signal path. But I like to use it for... Okay, it's in a really weird mode. I like to use it for really kind of fast, kind of... what do you call that? Yep. I don't know. It's got a name for that kind of really fast reverb that makes kind of a pitch. So how I'm sending things to those various different effects is I have my mixer here, and this is actually the most modular thing I have in the entire setup. This is a modular mixing solution from Frap Tools. I think it's called the CGM, and you can buy as many channels as you want, and then you connect them all up the back using special like inside patch cables. And so it lets you create, like, if you need a mixer that's like this big, you can create that. If you need a mixer that's only 6 channels like I do, then you can get the mixer exactly the size you want. It's quite expensive, and it's actually probably the most expensive thing in this entire setup, which is absolutely ridiculous, and I have no idea why I bought it. But I do really like it. But yeah, damn, it's expensive. And it has, per each channel, it's got 2 sends. So I've got it set up so that I can send anything, anytime, to the Electus Versio. Oops, that's the wrong channel. Or I can send to the Ruina, which is kind of a weird choice because it's probably intended to be an insert effect, but I actually really like the flexibility of being able to choose which instrument gets sent to the kind of the drive effects, and I use that quite a lot. I won't have too many things running to it at a time, but I'll kind of choose: do I want my drums to be like nasty, or do I want my my bass to be nasty? I mostly have it running on the bass and the defam because it just really brings out those low frequencies, puts them into some laptop speaker range. But yeah, I can send it from anything. So I can make my poor little Roland TR6 feel quite overwhelmed. Yes, okay, so that's the sends. So obviously I am running all my different instruments as just straight channels on this mixer. The one kind of magic trick that I'm doing with this is it has a CV control per channel, and so this little ninja star thing I've got, it takes a signal from the kick drum and it splits it out into the channels I want to sidechain every time the kick goes. So let's get the bass going. No. So you can see there's a signal coming out of my poly end, which is always on, except when the kick goes, it drops down for a moment and then comes back. Can it run Doom? Yeah, probably on the Raspberry Pi. Yeah. I don't have a screen though, so not really. I do have a knob that's labeled Doom on the Ruina Versio, which is wonderful. So I guess so. That's the sidechain. Okay, now so out of the mixer, it runs from the mixer into the WMD Overseer filter. So that gives me some really nice kind of global control of the sound vibes, like a DJ would. feedback. Yo, DJ. I'll put it in. That kind of stuff. So I have the Overseer running on the master output, and then I have that running into the Desmodus. So it's a little odd to have your reverb on your kind of your master output, but I don't know, it reminds me of DJing, where you just want to kind of create that big space moment and then just smash it back in. Surprisingly, I actually have it going some of the time just normally. When you're playing techno, you kind of want reverb on things like kicks and stuff. And then so you just stick it on the master and then it's on the kicks too. It's magic. Anyone that told you not to put reverb on your entire mix, I don't think they've tried it, because it's kind of cool if you can automate the amount of like wetness that's going out. And then that runs into a compressor. Sorry, everyone. And then that runs into a clipper, because I find that compressor into clipper is like the magical secret for making things sound really intense and loud and big. Limiters are for people that want things to be gentle and smooth, but I don't. I want things to be abrasive and intense. And my microphone is a little bit of a new thing I haven't plugged in, and I'm intrigued to know the audio quality. But it was either there a handheld microphone, which I wanted to have both hands, so I went for the shotgun into this thing. Yeah. Okay. So in my final 3 minutes, I will describe what the MIDI Fighter Twister is doing. So the MIDI Fighter Twister, in the same way that the Launchpad controls my voices, my instruments, the MIDI Fighter Twister, it controls the effects. And as you saw before, I've got it connected to my filter, so I can very easily just kind of grab at the filter and the wet dry on my reverb. Ooh. And the delay time on the reverb. And then I've got the amount of sidechain. No one needs that much sidechain, but it's good to know that it goes higher than you need. And as I was doing just before, we've got this whole section here is about kind of adding modulation to the instruments themselves. So for every single instrument, I have a filter or something similar to that on it, so that I can have it playing a sequence. I can kind of bring instruments out, kind of jam with them as more kind of like analog signals rather than the MIDI signals. And what you may have seen me do there is I looped my knob movement. So if the MIDI Fighter Twister has buttons, so each knob is also a button that you can press, and I have my MIDI looper set up so that whenever I'm holding it down, it actually records that automation. So let's get the bass here. Which I have way too much fun with, especially with automating the reverb wetness. Where's the drive? Like that. And then on the second page of my MIDI Fighter, I have individual controls for each drum so that I can control how much decay there is on various sounds and how much of that. Yeah, and that's it. That is the full rig. And look at that, I did it just in time. Surprising. So thank you very much, GSG, and also the very small folks, very small, the smaller but very vibrant community of Doom fam who gave me my Techno Thursday slot every week, which I've been using to actually get good at this rig, which I've spent all these years working on it, and now I haven't changed it for like since I started those streams, and it's just been really nice to just have that repetitive cycle of using a thing and discovering new things on it. But I mean, sure, sometimes I get kind of over and sick of the sounds I can make with this thing, and then I take a break from it and come back and I discover a whole new like piece of the Platts or the Desmodus or the Lectus that I didn't even know was there, and so that's yeah. And so, like I'm saying now, I'm starting to explore the Lemon Drop and learning what this tiny little ridiculous box can do. And it definitely is, it's digital AF. It is a very digital sounding synth. But I have a lot of analog stuff in here, so I feel like it kind of balances out. And I think I want to start sampling more analog stuff into it, or even like voice samples and things to get more atmosphere stuff there. But yes, no DAW. It's all what you see on the desk. The magic MIDI mappings are happening in the Raspberry Pi, but apart from that, it's very much, yeah, what you see is what you hear. Yes, it can run Doom. That's right. I've never tried, but yes, it absolutely could. I mean, maybe you can even run Doom on the 404 at this point. It's got like it's fun little screensavers. Point for Pi software. So it's actually my stuff's all hand rolled, but there is quite a large kind of community of various things. But yeah, I should get the raid going to the next person. But if you are keen to hear more about how this works, yeah, boot me in, I don't know, the gear chat or something, and maybe I can do another stream about all the MIDI stuff, because I avoided talking about that today because I knew it would just be a huge rabbit hole, and I kind of just wanted you to understand what it is that I'm doing, because it's weird. But yeah, that's it. See ya. Hopefully I rated the right person. Woo! those that were enjoying the after show there, goodbye, and go to the next stream. See ya.